Hello and welcome to my AP Computer Science free response question tutorials. The reason I'm making these videos is because I find that the actual solutions, the scoring guidelines on the College Board website are very vague and they don't give an exact solution. So my purpose with these videos is to kind of walk you through what I'm thinking as I do these problems. Alright, so let's begin. Today we're going to be doing the 2015 question 1. So let's begin. So first let's read I'm going to assume that you have the copy of the actual questions with you. I'm not going to be displaying them on the screen. So this question involves reasoning about one-dimensional and two-dimensional arrays of integers. You will write 3 static methods, all of which are in single enclosing class named diverse array. The first method returns the sum of the values of a one-dimensional array. The second method returns an array that represents the sums of the rows of a two-dimensional array, and the third method analyzes row sums. So, part A. So part A is asking us, write a static method array sum that calculates and returns the sum of the entries in a specified one-dimensional array. The following example shows an array R1 and the value returned by a call to array sum. Okay, so my thought process with this problem is that I'm going to loop through every value in the one-dimensional array, and each value I'm going to add to a specific integer that I'm going to declare. So I'm going to show you more in the code. So first, the header of the method is going to be public static int, because we're returning an integer because we have to return the sum, and in the parameters we have to take an array. So I'm just going to name it int array, and don't forget brackets. Okay, and I'm typing this on Word because you will not be able to use an actual Java text editor on the exam, so I'm just trying to simulate test data as best as possible. So, I forgot to name the method. So I'm going to name it array sum like they told us to. Okay, so this is the header of the method. So as I said, so we're going to loop through every single int. But first we're going to declare an int that keeps hold of the sum. So I'm going to do int counter equals 0. Okay, so I'm just going to declare and initialize it just to be safe. Okay, so we're going to do a loop. So you can do any kind of loop you want, but in this video I'm going to do a for each loop. So for int I, and then a for each loop uses the colon array. So this is going to go through every single value in the array. Right? Excuse the syntax on this because I'm using Word, so a lot of stuff is going to be auto-corrected. Just try and excuse that. I'm sorry. So, so we're going to go through each value in the array, and we're going to add each value to the counter. So we're going to do counter equals counter plus I. Okay, so this is taking the current value of counter and adding int I to it. Okay, so after we finish this loop, we're just going to return counter. And this is successfully going to solve the problem. Pretty self-explanatory. You can read the scoring guidelines more to understand if you don't understand completely what I did, but I think part A seems to be pretty self-explanatory. Now, on to part B. We have to write a static method row sums that calculates the sums of each of the rows in a given two-dimensional array, and return these sums in a one-dimensional array. The method has one parameter, a two-dimensional array R2D of int values. The array is in row major order. the method's going to return a one-dimensional array with one entry for each row of R2D such that each entry is the sum of the corresponding row. Okay. So let me read the example that they give us. Okay. So I'm just looking at the table that they gave us. Okay, so this seems pretty easy. Okay, so we are allowed, if you read make sure you read the instructions clearly, guys. So it says that assume that array sum works as specified. Okay, so you must use the method that we wrote in part A to receive full credit. Okay, so I'm not going to write the method header because it's already there for us. I didn't notice. Okay, so yeah, so let's begin. So once again, I'm going to declare an int, which is going to be returned, which is going to be what we're actually returning. So just going to name this rows, and I'm not going to initialize it yet, okay? And I'll tell you why in just a second. So actually, yeah, I will just tell you right now. I will initialize it, and I'll do new int array, and I'm going to do R2D dot length. R2D dot length. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we're going to have the final array that we're returning is going to be of length the number of rows that we have. Because if you look at the example, we're summing each row and returning it as an array. So we have to have the int array that we declare as the length of the total number of rows. And R2D.length is how you get the length of the rows, or how many rows there are. Okay. So now we're going to loop through the table. Okay, so we're going to do int I equals 0. I has to be less than R2D.length. This is a standard loop. Okay. Right? Okay, so we're going to have the loop, and inside the loop, we're going to go through every row and sum the row, and then we're going to add it to the array. Okay, so we had the method array sum, so that makes it easy for us. So we can do int sum equals array sum, which is the method we wrote earlier, and then we need to use it on the row. So we're going to do R2D I. Okay, so R2D I is the row that we're currently on, and it's going to find the sum and assign it to a variable sum. And now this variable sum, we're going to add to the rows that we declared earlier. So rows I is equal to sum. And then we just have to, after we finish looping, we're just going to have to return rows. And that should solve the question. Very simple solution as well. Now on to part C. A two-dimensional array is diverse if no two of its rows have entries that sum to the same value. In the following examples, the array mat1 is diverse because each row sum is different, but the array mat2 is not diverse. Okay, so that's pretty easy to understand. Write a static method is diverse that determines whether or not a given two-dimensional array is diverse. Okay. All right, so this seems to be pretty easy as well. So basically for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the method we wrote in part B, which is the row sums, and I'm going to go through the array that results from row sums, and I'm going to go through it and see if any of the numbers are the same. Okay. So once again, we're going to have to use a for loop. But this time we may have to use a nested for loop. Alright. So it's a Boolean, alright? So we're going to do a for loop and we're going to go through actually, sorry, scratch that. Forget what I said. So, one second, okay, so it was a static method. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do int array rows equals the method that we wrote in part B, which was row sums. And the parameter that they give us is R2D. Alright, sorry. Yeah, so, sorry, why do I have brackets? So now we're going to do our for loop. So, for the array, right? So, the for loop is basically, we have to go through every value in the array and compare it to every other value after it. Alright, so, I'm going to do for int I equals 0, another standard for loop. Right? Complete my brackets. So this is going to go through every value in the for loop. And what we have to do is compare it to the values after it. So we're going to do another loop inside of it. So this is known as a nested loop. You guys might have heard of it. So the thing is, we have to make sure that these two variable names are different. So I'm going to name this one x, and I'm going to set it equal to I. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm comparing it to every value after I. Okay. So x rows dot length, and I'm going to increment x. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to declare my Boolean diverse as true. Okay. Actually, I'm going to declare it as false. So we're going through each one in the loop, and I'm going to do if rows I is equal, make sure you use the double equals operator, is equal, let me make this +1, because if we just do how it was before, it automatically returned true because they're referring to the same thing. So is equal to rows x, then we're gonna then we're not gonna do anything. No, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. So this is gonna be true, and I'm gonna change this to not equal. No. Diverse equals true. Yeah, so this is how it's gonna be. So if it is equal to another value, then we're gonna return false. Okay, so I don't even need this Boolean now that I think about it. Okay. So it's going to automatically return false if it finds one that's true. So this is where the for loop started. So if it doesn't return false by the time the loop is done, that means that the array is diverse. So then we're going to automatically return true. And that solution should work. Let me know in the comments if that doesn't work for you, but Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Good luck.